and today we'll be joined by members of a whole bunch of different organizations to talk about what's going on at Maryland. Can everybody announce themselves?
I'm Chantel, co-president of Community Roots and a member of S.T.A.R.E, which is Students Taking Action to Reclaim Our Education.
Okay.
I'm Malcolm Harris from College Park Students from a Democratic Society and from S.T.A.R.E as well.
And I'm Stephen Swan from S.T.A.R.E.
Okay. So can somebody kind of give us a synopsis on what exactly is going on? Because I feel like a lot of students are still kind of confused.
So basically there's a couple of specific issues which all branch off of the bigger issue that the university's priorities aren't in check. So we have funding being spent on things that clearly don't help students' education. We have teachers being let go that teach underrepresented class in areas and subject fields like third world economics, which is like the only, Rent Wisdom, for example, getting let go. She's the only person who teaches that, and so she's getting let go. And we have sort of this devaluation of diversity of ideas, represented first by the firing of Dr. Black, who is the Associate Provost for Diversity and Equity, and also by the non-emphasis in the way that they're firing people on what they're doing for the university through their ideas and teachings, and an emphasis on how much money they can bring in through the schools they're in. So there's a priority on money-making schools right now, such as engineering, the business school, architecture, journalism, and a de-emphasis on schools which focus on more social aspects and don't bring in as much money. So that would be things like schools that are in the arts and humanities, schools that are under behavioral sciences. So basically the most popular majors are getting hit the hardest because they don't make the most money.
And with Dr. Black, what exactly is going on with Dr. Black? What happened with that situation?
I mean, what seems clear from what we've been able to figure out, and the administration has been inconsistent, I guess is the kind word, in terms of their explanations, is that Dr. Black voiced dissent from within the administration about the priorities of the university, and as a result is being removed from a position he served in for the last 18 years. And the provost specifically has given inconsistent reasons. We first heard it was a budget cut issue. We ran the numbers, confronted him with the numbers that showed that the university wasn't going to save any money. He admitted it was a personnel issue, and then since then has switched his story back and forth whenever it serves his needs. What we have is a budget situation that's being used to excuse an ideology in the way our university is being run, to excuse corporatism within our university, and we students find that unacceptable.
Sort of an interesting, maybe coincidental, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, event that happened surrounding his firing that his brother brought into awareness, who is also a professor in Washington State. So he came down and he was talking about the author of the book, Push, Sapphire, coming to campus and reading an excerpt from her book, which basically is about, that's what the movie Precious is based on. So it's basically about an overweight young woman who gets molested by her father, who gets abused by her mother, who is severely behind in school. She's going through a lot of different traumas, and the woman came here, read an excerpt from the book, and some faculty members found it, quote-unquote, offensive. So upon their complaints to the provost asked Dr. Black to apologize basically for Sapphire coming in and reading this book because of the language they used or whatever. But Dr. Black refused to apologize, not because he doesn't care about the faculty, but because the book is representing a real life situation and it wasn't targeted at anybody. And if we can't, in this sort of academic environment, read an excerpt from a book that is based on real life, and we can't accept that, then that's something that he's not going to apologize for. And so subsequently, within a few days, at most a week, he got fired. And, so that could either be a coincidence or it could be a sign that the provost wants people around him who are just gonna agree and follow suit and not cause any sort of tension. And I think that by itself is a little suspect.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree.
You don't ask for an apology from someone you're about to fire.
Yeah. I think that's very disturbing that, you know, like the content of what was spoken about from that book, from my understanding, is somebody that's dealing with oppression, somebody who's been sexually abused. And of course, you know, when discussing an important issue like that, there might be language, you know, there might be things that people might feel uncomfortable with, but the point is, you know, the most important thing is that that person, the content of what they dealt with is more severe than the language they use in order to describe it. You know what I mean? So I think that's disturbing that in such an academic atmosphere you can't discuss something like that and be adult and mature enough to handle it. But also, you know, I understand that Dr. Black has made a lot of influences in different people's lives on campus, and is very involved in individual students, in addition to helping other students as well. So what exactly does Dr. Black do at Maryland for students, as far as like the departments?
Well, he oversees 3 departments that are heavily involved in diversity work on this campus. It's Office of Multi-Ethnic Student Education, the Brewer Cultural Center, and the Office of LGBT Equity. That's kind of his official capacity. But in addition to that, he also serves as a resource, as an advisor, as an advocate, and as a leader for diversity in recruitment, retention, and promotion of faculty. He's advanced the cause of diversity in recruitment and enrollment of students. He's a highly sought after speaker on campus on issues of diversity, as well as tolerance, discrimination, sexual harassment, other issues like that. I think broadly beyond just the scope of his title duties, he's been very personally, intellectually invested in the notion of creating a welcoming and inclusive climate for everyone on this campus.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can't go without mention that he helped to fight to get a lot of the majors that he's overseeing, like LGBT equity and Latino studies and African American studies. You know, all those didn't exist when he first came to this university, and he was part of the fight to get them. And he's also part of the fight to get the Brewer Cultural Center to even exist and be in the place that it is now, instead of being in a little, basically in a little hut, you know, on the other side of campus. And he pays for a lot of minority students who couldn't afford to otherwise to study abroad, which might seem like a handout, but to be honest, you know, there's a lot of privilege that goes on here that reaps people benefit that minority students don't necessarily, and not even just minority students, but people coming from lower income housing who are here, or lower income households that can't afford to go and study abroad for a semester. You know, and as enriching of an experience as that is, to have a professor that will pay for a student's whole tuition for that time is saying a lot about his character and about his values that I haven't seen echoed in a lot of other places on this campus.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So it's obvious that he's a very, very impactful person on this campus that's done a lot for our community. So I'm hoping that people, after learning more about him, people will be more proactive in seeing that he's rehired, because I think it's ridiculous that, you know, things went down the way they did. And I also heard some discussion on the Black Studies Department and other departments merging. What exactly is going on with that?
There's been nothing officially declared. This is just talk, which has been heavy emphasis on them. It's a consolidation of LGBT studies, Latino studies, women's studies, and African American studies.
Maybe American studies.
Maybe American studies as well too. The reason for this, because all these majors are like one another, you know, so they could be put in the same group. In actuality, though, by putting them all in the same group, what will just end up happening is that they'll have to compete with each other for budget, which means it's the easier way. They're going to give them one solid amount for them to compete for amongst themselves, instead of working out their own programs. University of Maryland claims to be, or on its way to be, in an Ivy League, public Ivy League school, you know, like UC Berkeley and others. Well, at all those schools,